Welcome back to Them Three Podcast this week. It's just Rick and I in the studio. And I think this might be one of my first times doing this.
Doing a two-person on them three podcast?
Have we done that?
I don't think so.
I don't know. I'm always kind of jealous when I walk by and look at the conversations being had in here. So maybe it's a good time to start. But today we're going over the myth of more time. And I think this topic is something as I've progressed is something I focus on a lot more. 25-year-old Dane didn't focus on that a lot. So I think there's a lot of people out there that need to hear this and need to have this discussion more often. How many times have you told yourself, I'll do it when I have more time?
It happens a lot.
Yeah.
Obviously, we try to not let that happen, but there's been times where I'm like, man, maybe next weekend I'll get it done, and it just gets put on the back burner, and then inevitably something comes up because that's what happens in life. Events come up a few days out or whatever, and if you don't have the time blocked off to do it, those windows of free time that you think you're going to have tend to kind of disappear.
Yeah, it's so I used to think of time and I used to think of procrastination. I thought of procrastination in the relevance of school. I thought of it in the relevance of what we experienced as kids. So it's you put off a book report, you put off studying for assignment, you put off all those things. And I think that's because in those scenarios there was always that next thing that you had, that project or something you're working on. I think when we get into life, we never really formulate time for what it needs to be focused on. Because when you talk about the procrastination, now I think of procrastination of, are you doing what you need to be doing in your marriage now? Because it's really easy to say like, hey, I know I need to be doing X, Y, and Z with my wife, but I'm going to put it off until business slows down. I need to be doing X, Y, and Z with my friends from me being a great friend standpoint and serving them, but I'm going to put it off until X slows down. So it's just, I think that formulation of it doesn't always have to be a set task. It doesn't have to be something that's put in front of you to get it done. I think there's a lot of times you have to formulate what that looks like and where's your time most well prioritized. And I think I've focused on it a lot more in the last year.
Yeah. Well, I think what happens, or at least what happened to me, is when I would read some books that were talking about like time management and everything, I didn't have a lot going on at the time. And I could have been using my time more effectively, but I just didn't have, there just wasn't that much momentum. I just didn't have that much going on. So it almost fell on deaf ears. I didn't really apply it to my life then, where I feel like if I would have started using my time more effectively and scheduling out the things that aren't as urgent, like spending time with friends and scheduling trips or date nights and stuff like that. If you're more proactive with what your calendar looks like, that's going to change what your life looks like because it's going to change what you spend your time on.
And I think the narrative of having to fill the calendar all the time is something I've fallen into a lot, and I'm still guilty of it a lot of times too, where I'll fall into that. Well, we have a free night, we have to do something, and I think when you start prioritizing what you want to do with your time and what brings you joy, that different things bring me joy than the next person. But when I first started in business, one of the things that I was very disciplined about was how do I capitalize on my time from the home forefront. So I paid to have my yard mowed, I paid to have fertilizer guys come, I paid to have house cleaners come, I paid to pretty much have everything taken care of on the personal forefront to where I wasn't not getting those things done because I was pouring my time into work. And I feel like it gave me a leg up a little bit when I started on the MMG. And I thought because I got that time back that I had to use that time on work. So because it was you paid to get this done, you get this time back. Now it's an obligation to use this towards work. And now I look at it and people are like, well, you can mow your own yard. I'm like, yeah, I could. Like, I just don't really like want to.
I'd probably rather on a Saturday morning go to the gym and spend some
Yeah.
time in the sauna and work out instead of mowing the
Yeah.
grass.
Yeah, when I get up on a Saturday and I take 2 hours to go to the gym and just have myself a morning, I truly enjoy it. Or if I want to get up and take my wife to breakfast and do that, I can. And it's actually utilizing that time for what brings me joy. And I mean that could be doing a puzzle for people. That could be whatever it may be. But not feeling like an obligation that, okay, hey, you earn this time back now. I have to use it towards something else. And I think that's just that productivity piece that I think successful people just have, that to where for a long time I felt guilty. Like I still feel guilty when I'm not doing something.
It's tough.
It is.
It really is. And that's like, I feel like that's part of the hunger that drives you to be on this path towards success in the first place. But then at the same time, that same drive can be what takes away from some of the joy of being in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where the conversation of balance comes in, rather than the how much time are you working versus not working at everything. But when you aren't working, like being focused on being present and enjoying time with family or whatever it is. I think it was Jim Rohn has that famous quote about when he goes to the beach, he's thinking about the office, and when he takes his family. Or when he's at the office, he's thinking, oh, I need to take my family to the beach. And the reality is, if you're just really present when you are in either of those scenarios, that's how you're going to get the most joy out of life.
And the only true time that we really have is now. And there's a lot of people that look as this is an infinite amount of time. And it's when you prioritize those things, when you start saying, hey, what am I actively doing with my time? And I'm going to say for most of my life, I wasn't the person that was present at the beach. I go to the beach and all I thought about was being back here. All I thought about was like what I need to be doing. And to the balance, I think there's a lot of conversations about balance. There's a lot of podcasts that are fully on balance. And it's something that I was in a room with a lot of really high level CEOs this week, and we're going over problems in business. We're going over problems personally. And the crazy part is you end up in those rooms, and I used to always think it'd be very business driven. I thought it was like, okay, the day I get in those rooms, I need to be reading every single business book I can to make sure I have the knowledge to be able to sit in that room and be able to speak the language.
Talking like tactics and metrics and systems.
I thought that's what those rooms would be made of. I have come to find out it's very different. It's most of the time I'm in those rooms and those individuals are talking about their time. They're talking about how can they be more efficient at work to make it to their son's football game. How can they be more, one of the guys was, I mean, this is a company that's probably 100x the size of MMG. And his statements he's making is, how do I free up more of my time of these problems that I'm dealing with at work so I can make it to my daughter's volleyball game? Those are the problems that they're bringing to the table. So that I'm like looking at my problems that are like super tactical. I'm like, I'm not going over these. But it's just, so that kind of like led me more into this time podcast and this myth of that there's just unlimited amount of it, that you get around people with so much money, and I thought the people that had all the money would have time figured out, and they're not a direct correlation.
Not always the case.
And I've seen a lot of people that have become wildly successful, and in that journey of becoming wildly successful, what I'm saying successful in business.
Yep.
Financial freedom in business. They've sacrificed everything else. And the things that truly brought them joy in life, they've lost along the way. And I think there's seasons and there's stories that happen as we progress. That we had to go through the season of grinding MMG wise and everything we did in the basement and to the river market into here, but it's also opened up a different season that we have now. Now we're in the season of building SOPs and building different software. How do we become more efficient, more effective at what we do every day? But the reason that I focus on that stuff so much is because those are the things that unlock time. That the more salespeople we have, that unlocks more time for me, yourself too. The better the systems we build, the more time that's unlocked for the people that are working in them. That I think that's where a lot of times there's a lot of business owners that like when someone comes to them to give them all their time. And I think probably to date, I'd say our biggest argument was when you were trying to give me 100% of your time.
It was, yeah. Yeah, I thought that was going to be the solution to one of the problems that we had at the time, and hindsight probably wasn't. It might have worked for a little bit, but not a great solution. And I think that's the kind of a common thing that young guys that are pretty hungry tend to beat their head against the wall with is, we'll just throw more time at it.
Yeah.
And it takes you a while at least took me a little bit of some time to figure out that lesson, that's not always the solution. It's great in the beginning because all you really have is time. And I think that's where young guys get a little confused on it, is that's your advantage when you're just getting started, is you have all the time in the world. So you can over-index by throwing more time at the problem, more time at learning, more time at making yourself better, whatever it is. But at some point, that's just not the answer anymore, because you're capped out about what your output can be. And then if you can transition that to leading a team and leveraging your time more, the same thing that media does as well, it's just a higher use of your time, you start to have a lot bigger impact.
Yeah. I feel like you were just a couple steps behind me, and I was watching myself and you. And I think that's why I was frustrated at that time with you, because I'm like, this isn't the answer. And I know in your head, you had formulated that was the answer.
You're like three steps ahead in the journey, and you're like, bro, just lift your stupid head up and come up on here.
I was like, I'm telling you, I'm not saying this. I was like, the solution that you have presented does work. Right. But the person that it doesn't make sense for is you.
Yeah.
Like, for me, the solution is awesome. Like, for the company, the solution is great.
Yeah.
For you, the solution was not right.
Right.
And it's like, it was the same thing when I was in the car world. Like, I always lived to be the hardest worker in the room. Like, when I point, like, I have a very addictive personality. When I point it and it goes a direction, it is all forces that way. It's a gift and a curse altogether, because I mean, like, as a business owner, I've seen the quotes and stuff like, you flirt a fine line between being like wildly successful or an addict on the street.
Yep.
Like, it's just like you're like right there.
Yeah.
But it's like, what are you pointing that at? And while I was in the car business, like, I thought I was the hardest worker in a room because I put in so many hours every week. Because I had 100-hour weeks, like, I thought, like, I'm like, dude, no one is out working.
I'm here before everybody. I leave after everybody.
And it was like, I wore that on my sleeve, and like that was my thing. And it was like, I was that way through high school. I was that way through college. Like, I showed up when other people didn't. I pushed harder, and I was like, and I still, once again, amazing trait. Like, you have to have the work ethic. You have to have the ability to put it in. But I think also going through that makes it where you appreciate time a lot more in the future.
You absolutely do.
So it's...
Yeah, if you had infinite time, we would have no regard for this moment of right now. Like, that's because life's not infinite, because at some point we're all going to die, that gives reason to be in the present moment and gives purpose to it.
Yeah. And that's to that point of you trying to put everything up time-wise. It's something I feel like I've always tried to press into the company. And I feel like sometimes it works really well, and sometimes it backfires on me 10 ways to Tuesday. So I feel like I've drove people out of the company because I press that. But I think that they're assuming there's some sort of angle on it. That it's... Because I don't like if somebody wants more money in the company, if somebody wants to increase themselves, like, you have increased your pay, you have increased everything you've done in the company, but it's in relevance of you developing as a higher movement piece in the game, instead of just saying, like, I'm going to give you more time.
Right.
Like, that's probably the quickest way for me not to give people raises. Like, I want somebody that thinks smarter, not always just harder.
Yeah, just having more impact, and what that, it requires you to think about the system that you're integrated in and figuring out what impact needs to happen so that the company makes more money, which is at the bottom line. Like, most of business is related towards the company making more money. So if that means making your system more efficient or making a more effective follow-up so that clients stay longer, whatever it is, thinking about like what's the actual outcome of my position, or what am I here to do, not just like what are the tasks that I'm supposed to do while I'm here from 9 to 5 or whatever it is. But thinking about the impact that you have more than just the task that you're doing.
Yeah, and that goes into, there's most people that just focus on being busy. And I was talking to somebody about it in the office like 2 weeks ago. I'm like, there's most people are just busy being busy. They're never really strategic about what they're doing with their time. That I could come in here today and I could scrub the floors with a toothbrush all day, sweat my ass off, and just
You could work hard.
hard. And at the end of the day, when I leave, was that the best movement for what MMG could be doing? Like me playing interior designer, I don't know if that's a good use of my time. I kind of enjoy when we set up a new office, everything, me run around to Home Goods and Nebraska Furniture Mart and everything. Probably best use of my time, maybe not. But it's something I actually enjoy doing. I enjoy setting up new spaces. I enjoy the getting to see the people's reaction that is their space. That I got to help elevate someone that they can now enjoy their time in their workspace during the day and when they come to work. So it's like, that's how I sell to myself.
And that actually is a pretty good ROI then. It's like team morale and their energy whenever they're inside the walls. That's a big deal.
And that's, I feel like our office space has always been something way different. And I had years of my life that I sat within walls that I didn't enjoy being in. I didn't enjoy my space. I didn't enjoy, like, I didn't feel comfortable in it. And I've always, even in the basement days, I feel like we still had a comfortable space. We still had something that was fun.
It was.
And it was like the River Market was just like, the second I walked in, it was like a gut feeling. I knew it. We walked into this space, it was like a gut feeling that I'm like, I can picture it. I like the vision's there. The time that's going to be spent within these walls, the ROI is going to be much higher because the space is right. I think that's something that a lot of like business owners don't even, I think there's a lot of business owners that focus on their time. I focus very heavily on other people's time. That, yeah, I'm not in this office every day. I'm not in the sales office every day. That still doesn't mean I cheap out on what those offices are. Our sales office, we could have had a place that was way cheaper, that was like white cubicles, call center.
The real estate agent took us on a few of them, and there were some other options out there that would have been just that.
Yeah, and I didn't see that, even as it was a space that I wasn't in every day. I picture a space like, if I can't put myself in there and spend my time there, I'm not going to make someone else. To where that's just always like, I don't know. I think it's on here. I have the Finite clock, the 86,400 seconds in a day. Those are non-renewable. So when we have those that are spent at a place of work, we have those that are spent going to restaurants, we have those that are spent on all these different things. I've always kind of viewed my life as like, if it ended abruptly, something happens, like we never know what's going to happen. Am I okay with the life I've lived up to this point? Would I be happy with what yesterday was? I look at my calendar and everything from yesterday and what I did yesterday, and I had a great day. Like, I'll take that. And I think everyone tries to formulate that it has to be something big and extravagant. I think it just has to be something that you're at peace and you're at. For most of my life, I wasn't at peace. I don't know. I didn't know what to do with my time. I didn't know my direction. I didn't know much of anything. But as it's progressed, like, I try to take advantage of those seconds every day. And I know that you're experiencing something that's way different that I haven't got to experience. That now you have a daughter to where I don't even know how to wrap my head around what time looks like at that point. And I don't even know if there's words to go with that.
Yeah, watching her grow up, I know it's gonna be tripping me out time wise. We We have our 10-year high school reunion later this month, so that's kind of weird time wise.
Like all 8 of you guys going to that?
Yeah, well, there's believe it or not, there's like 60.
Oh wow.
Yeah, pretty big class. But what I think I'm gonna realize is watching her grow up, having a different perspective on time is gonna warp how I see it now. Like already, it's when we were going through high school, 4 years felt like, oh my gosh, that's a lifetime.
Yeah.
But now 4 years go by, or MMG's 5 years now, and it probably feels like a blur.
It is actually pretty wild. Like when I watched that 5-year video, then when I watched the 5-year video, it wasn't so much like I got emotional about like what we've done,
Yeah.
but it was just like to watch that 5 years was gone like that.
And that's part of why I love media so much, is being able to document the individual moments. Because it's like when you think about the 5 years, just looking back now, it's like, man, that went so fast. But then when you see something like the 5-year video and you're breaking down like the little bits from all the different vlogs and everything, it's like, man, we did a lot in those 5 years though.
We did.
And that's kind of the same way that I think having kids, the way that you look at it is like watching them grow up, it gives you a different yardstick on time.
Yeah. And I always get so many questions about the podcast, I feel like.
Yeah.
Purpose behind it and why we created it. I mean, we started because I opened my mouth, and then I just, if you say you're going to do something, you need to do something.
Absolutely. You got to be a man of your word and stick to it.
So we did that, even though it was like, probably still today, it's a top 3 like most fearful thing I've ever done.
Yeah.
And like I was meeting with a guy this week that I went to high school with, and he's like, yeah, so-and-so was talking like, is Dane really done that well, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, they're like, I see his ads all the time. It's really fucking annoying, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I go, jealous people will speak. I go, and I'm fine with it. But I also look at, if you take those people and they have kids, and even if they don't have kids and their time comes and they go, what's the mark that they left on the world? That I look at how cool it is that we have this as a documentation piece of the puzzle. That one day we're all going to be gone and we're going to have kids that are running and they do whatever they do at the time, and they can go back and listen to, hey, there's my dad and Dane sitting on a podcast talking about time, that maybe they need to hear that at 17 years old. Maybe they need to hear that at 22. That Colin's maybe listening to this 22 years from now and say, hey, you know what, great perspective. Oh, hey, maybe not a great perspective. I don't know.
Yeah, time will tell, I guess.
But it's just having that and how cool that is, that we look at our parents and we look at the generations before. I don't think they've really had that opportunity like we have now.
No, the only way, if you wrote a letter or kept up with a baby book, I guess, but you're just passing down verbal stories. There's not that hard documentation, and certainly not hundreds and thousands of hours of it out there that you can just catalog through on the internet.
Yeah, and it's, I think, to the business and to the marketing point of that, like it comes into what the value of media is. The value of, I think a lot of times we don't connect the pieces, like it's not constructed correctly in our heads of what the value of media is. Because I look at it as we do this podcast, and if we get 2,000, 2,500 hours of listen time, how many, what's that break down to day wise? If we worked from 24-hour days.
Oh man, like 100 days or something?
Yeah, somewhere around there. So it's like, say roughly 100 days of us going out trying to talk to people all day, every day, and they willingly give us their attention. I mean, every 3 podcasts we get back a year.
That is a pretty crazy way to look at it.
Yeah, so we can do 3 of these in an hour and a half here. That gives us a year of time back.
That's some good leverage.
But then you have people with so much money that will sit there and they say, oh, $1,000 for a podcast? No way. Oh, it's, I feel like we have 2 different types of business owners that walk in. The people that they have money and they say, hey, like, I want to leverage my time. I understand more eyeballs on my stuff. I understand that it's going to generate more leads. I understand when I walk into a room, I have to spend less time explaining who I am. That I end up in rooms all the time that I'm not qualified to be in. I don't, it's that imposter syndrome. Like I'm not on the level of a lot of these other business owners that are in these rooms, but I walk in and they all know me.
It's not just who you know, it's who knows you.
Yeah. And it feels weird a lot of times. But then they're asking me questions about tacos. They're asking me questions about podcasting. They're asking me questions about our office. They're asking me questions about culture, about leadership, all this stuff. And I'm like, why are these people asking me these questions?
And those conversations allow you to have such a deeper connection with somebody rather than, oh, hey, what do you do? Or nice to meet you. Where are you from? They're past those next 5 or 6 levels, and they can talk about something that's actually meaningful, and they know there's a reason to talk to you about it.
I have a lot of people ask me about networking. I have a lot of people ask me about the network that we've built as MMG. And I think one of the big, when you build a personal brand, when you build a brand in general, you get to move people down lines so much. So when we have people come into our office and they are meeting with you, they're meeting with myself or whoever, most of the time they've already worked themselves down funnel so far that we're not having to have 3 or 4 meetings. That from a time perspective, if we correlate this back to time, we alleviate 2 to 3 hour long meetings, so we can start off 2 or 3 hours in front of ourselves because of the media side that we're doing, because of what we're leveraging out there. And once again, a lot of times I feel like when we're talking with people, we're so far up on trying to get them to understand the value of all of it that I talk to friends in the car world and I don't know why they can't figure this out, but every single thing they post is an ask. It drives me up a fucking wall. And I literally talk to them, I'm like, stop doing that. Stop asking people for shit every single time you post. What do you know? Every single time they post, we got $500 off here. We got 0% over here. Like, blah. I'm like, dude, you still sound like you're stuck in the 90s.
Yep.
No one is willingly giving any attention. They're like, well, I got 10 shares. I'm like, all 10 people that shared that work for you. They work at the dealership. Nobody outside the dealership liked it, shared it, anything.
We're just all talking to each other right now.
Yeah. So everything that they are doing from a media standpoint, everything that they are doing from a marketing standpoint, everything that they are doing is just trying to get something from someone. Entertain people, help people. Like the podcast, we have more people reach out to us about how much the podcast helps them in a state that they're in than it does generate work. So you're like, oh yeah, our marketing package is this much, and we got this, and this. Like, it's not what this was for. Taco reviews. Do we ask for any marketing in taco reviews? People love to watch them. Am I kind of worn out doing them? 100%. I look at those a time perspective of the view count and the audience that's built around it. It still makes sense.
It absolutely does. That's definitely your most productive lunch, I would say, is when you're getting tacos.
I'd really like to do sushi reviews. So we get that figured out. That'd be awesome.
Comment down below if you want sushi reviews.
Yeah. I don't want bad sushi, though, so that's the other thing I kind of think about.
Okay, that actually...
I'd be real iffy.
I don't think the sushi reviews would go very well, just because fast forwarding 2-3 months in, it's like, what kind of places are you going to at that point?
Yeah. I don't even know if we can make it that long.
And for some reason, I'm okay eating sketchy tacos. I don't think I want to eat sketchy sushi.
No, yeah, sketchy sushi is out.
Yeah. One other thing in reference to one of the realizations since having Collins and putting more focus on the present moment and everything. And then also with getting into the routine of meditating more and just having more awareness over my thoughts and such. One of the biggest benefits of that is that when you're not having the anxious overthinking thoughts of focusing on the things you need to do or focusing on the future, that allows you to be more present in the now, and it in a way kind of expands your perception of time.
Yeah.
Because when you're stuck in those really high brain waves of the racing thoughts and everything, and you're focused on the future, it's like you can't see all of the time that you have that fills that in. You just see the blurry goalpost down the road. And when you're present in the moment, you're just so much more effective when you are working. and not having the focus on the future allows you to enjoy the present moment more.
Yeah. And I'll say I'm very much a visionary. I'm somebody that, I mean, I close my eyes, I see what the future looks like for me or what I want it to look like.
Yeah.
And it used to take up so much brain space that I think I was never in the present. I never,
Like it was an obsessive, like focus on the goal, focus on the goal, focus on the goal.
yeah. And I'm still that way. I'm not going to say I'm not saying I'm changed on that forefront. I'm still very much operating that way. But what's changed a lot is as I've progressed, I've come to figure out that no matter how I map it out, the micro movement of all of it, I'm not going to be able to figure out. Like it does not
Yeah.
go how it planned. To where if I look at every finite piece of it, like I look at the fancy factors, like our next goalpost for MMG. I reverse engineer what needs to be done weekly, things like that.
Yeah.
But it's build the systems around where we make sure that those hold up these pieces of what needs to be happening week over week. But I don't get too lost in the weeds anymore and obsess over I obsess over the client experience. I obsess over customer service and those kind of things. But it's the first time in my life in the probably last 6 to 12 months that I've been okay with turning it off and being okay with not fully knowing what the next step looks like. And I think that is what has brought me a lot of ability to be present. That something I even work with Dre. Like Dre, we'll go out with Madison and Samantha, and Dre starts blabbing about work. I'm like, dude, I don't want to talk about it. Hey, we got Monday. It'll come. They'll still be there.
And that's something that shifted in you as well, though.
Yeah.
That I've seen over the last few years is your perspective on that.
Yeah. Because I used to think I had to think about it 24/7. If I wasn't thinking about it, I felt guilty to those around me because everyone was expecting me to be that person that was doing that nonstop. But I've figured out now if I don't take those times to slow myself down and enjoy the moment, my clarity becomes like last night I'm sitting out at a bonfire down in Kansas overlooking this 160 acres and the whole world is just watching the sunset and everything and watching the world come down. And I was like, this is what it's all about. And it was being in those moments and being like, I wasn't thinking about marketing at all. Zero. But it makes it to where this morning when I get up, I'm so clear. The vision becomes clear and I can see it better in the times that I do focus on it. It doesn't become that I think about so much that it becomes cloudy. And you get lost sometimes in the weeds so much that you can't see the picture above you anymore.
Yeah, and you get stuck in the same rut of thinking. Like it's not like you're working through all these kinds of new scenarios and new possibilities. It's like you kind of get stuck in a similar groove of similar thoughts, and then your days kind of start to look the same. And when you take those moments to really relax, you do gain a lot of clarity.
Yeah. And it was one day last week. I went home early. I wasn't feeling great. No, it was actually earlier this week. I wasn't feeling great, and I took a 2-hour nap. I'm not a nap person.
Yeah.
Take a nap, I get up, and Mass is like, are you going back in the office? I'm like, no, I think I'm just going to stay here. And I watched a movie, and it's just so unlike me.
Yeah.
And I was like, they got it all handled at the office. They'll get everything knocked out. And after that, it was like everything, it was like the seas parting that I saw this answer to this problem that I've been running into a wall for the last 4 weeks that had just been living in my head rent free. And all of a sudden I wake up and I'm watching this movie, and then I go upstairs, get in bed. I'm like, I'm gonna go to bed at 7, and I get in bed and I'm like, I need my notepad. I just started mapping everything out, and I was like, holy shit. I was like, this is the solution I've been looking for. And I come up with it in 15 minutes, and the next day I sit down with the marketing side, go through the whole thing, and they're like, yes, that's exactly what we need to do. But it's just the whole thing, I feel like I was going to say that one meme where all the numbers are going around, but I don't think that made sense to him. So I'm it became so clear that I was like, the couple hours of slowing down and got me to the answer instead of just like full throttle, like running into it over and over and over and over.
So yeah, striving and pushing and just like we were talking about earlier, thinking on it harder, also not always the answer. It's those moments when you can relax and let go and your brain waves come down, that then a lot of times that intuition of like what actually feels right, what your subconscious mind's telling you is right, that's when it has its opportunity to come through. But we're so busy anxious on what we have to do and focus on working harder all the time that you don't give the opportunities for that to happen, or most people don't.
Yeah. I look at it as like our brain is a muscle that we're using, just like if you're going to the gym and you did chest 24 hours a day, it would get to a spot where your chest is absolutely smoked and you're going to be worth nothing. So it's like, if you're wanting to go do something, or if you want to squat really heavy, you rest before that. And then it's like, now you have full ability to go after it. And I think for a lot of my life, I never let my brain slow down. So I feel like it was just, when I left the dealership world, I felt like I was in like a fried position. But it's also, I think that's a muscle that has to be worked all the time. So I think reading and I think listening to the right things, I mean, like you're training it all the time. And I think when I heard these kind of things like over and over and over, for a long time, I just kind of blocked it out. I was like, nah, not me. Nah, not me. So, no, I think we definitely didn't even like go off of my list at all. But I think we definitely covered time well for where we both stand right now.
It's going to be fun to look back on this podcast in a few years when we have another podcast about time and realize maybe we're completely wrong.
Yeah.
Or maybe we're on the right direction. I think
we're like, hey, we were figuring out a couple things. We were missing like 10 steps.
Yeah, we're 2 or 3 steps down the path. But.
Yeah. And I think that's the coolest thing about these types of podcasts, because they'll age and it'll be something that we can look back on. That we say, hey, like, we were way off base. But it's the cool thing too is I've ended up around a lot of business owners and a lot of just mentors that listen to our podcast. And then they'll come to me and they're like, hey, what was your thought process on X, Y, and Z? And they start telling me a whole different narrative with their experiences. I'm like, yeah, I think I missed that mark a little bit. And I'm like, that sounds way better.
Yeah.
So, but no, I think that's someone that's struggling with time and struggling with feeling stuck. What would you recommend?
Instead of having a list of to-dos and things you want to do, work from your calendar first and actually block out the time that you're going to do something. And then with that, don't just fill it in with all the shit that you need to do, because it's not going to happen. You're going to have a full list of 20 things you need to do, and you're going to get frustrated because you don't get the stuff done. Put in a reasonable amount of things, of your higher priority tasks to get done, and then also schedule in time to do the things that energize you and figure out what those things are. Whether it's going on a walk, that's a really easy one that people can do. Take the 10 minutes, go on a walk. The next 50 minutes are going to be way more productive or way more clear. Build your calendar around the life that you want and make it a life that energizes you, so that when you are working, you're more effective. And when you aren't working, you have a clear head to actually enjoy what it is that you're doing.
I like it. My one recommendation for people, it's going to kind of go into yours, but I'm going to tell them, work on building the life outside of work first. I think most of the time that's backwards for a lot of people. I've started prioritizing building my life outside of work first. It's made work 1,000 times better. So make sure that your priorities are correct with your time. That it's really easy to get those misaligned pretty quick. So thank you, Rick, for joining me. That's the M3 podcast. Peace.
Thanks for listening to the M3 Podcast. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. Want to learn more? Check us out on Instagram at Moss Marketing Group, on Facebook at Moss Marketing 58, or on our website at mossmarketinggroup.com.